Hi there, and a happy baseball new year, one and all, and softball as well. My name is Darren Sutton. This is Perfect Game Weekly, presented by Rawlings, show number 1 in the year 2022. We're going to do this every single week, devoted to diamond sports in the amateur space. We've got an incredible show to kick things off. Chris Taylor, Perfect Game alum, but the Chris Taylor you know is a postseason hero. He, of course, smashed the ball over the boards many times the last couple of Octobers. He'll spend time talking about his amateur journey and what a run around the bases is like when you homer in the biggest of stages. We're also going to get a chance to stop by Perfect Game's final showcase of last year, 2021, the main event showcase. More than 1,000 athletes. The great writer, the great scout, Jered Goodwin, will join us and let us know who stood out. But we start this show and wrap up that list of key topics with Bubba Coleman, a young man named Bubba, not too far from here, from Tolleson, Arizona, who took the year 2021 to be just dynamic. He raced up the rankings. He was a select festival athlete. He gained a commitment to LSU. Jay Johnson and he got together on a verbal. Talk about taking advantage of a year. We knew him when he was 13. That's when we really got to know him. Now we find out what's new with Bubba.
Let's rewind a little bit to your Select Fest.
My name is Bubba Coleman from Phoenix, Arizona, and I play middle infield. You know, the experience there was super fun. Got to play with all the top talent, and just to, win MVP just proves that I belong there and that all my work paid off, and that, it's just a great feeling. Which moment stood out to me at the Select Fest was definitely the hit.
Here's Bubba Coleman. Spots like this are not foreign to him.
2-1 the count.
Here's the pitch.
Line drive left field, it's a base hit. Takes a high bounce, they're gonna send the runner, they're gonna draw the throw to the plate. The relay, the slide, and we're tied.
So that one, I still feel like it happened yesterday. The next part of my game I want to elevate is, getting faster so that some of those balls that I can't get to, I'm able to get to now. And run a sub-7 by the national showcase. I committed to LSU, so when Coach Jay Johnson was at U of A, I had a couple calls with him, so I was already in contact with him, and then when he went to LSU, he invited me out to a camp, and I did really good out there. And so like a couple days after the camp, we had a call with him, and then we just stayed in touch for about like a month, and then that's when he offered, and then that's when I committed. It was important for me to commit so young. It's just so I can get all the stress of, going to college camps and just get all that stress off my shoulders and just to get focused and get stronger and worked on, getting ready for boundaries.
What's it like being the youngest of 6?
Being the youngest of 6, there's pros and cons to it. I get spoiled a lot by my mom, but growing up, I also had to do everything for them and listen to them, even though I didn't want to. They've helped me guide, mainly my sister, Michaela. She helps me a lot with focusing in school. She would always help me with my homework or school projects. She's always pushed me when it comes to school. One person who inspires me a lot is my dad, because he's been to college, he's been drafted, so he's been, he tells me how hard it is and how hard it is to get there as an African-American man. And so he just, he tells me that I'm gonna have to work every day, all day, just to get where I want. Something I would tell to my future self is like I knew it would pay off, like all those long days, I knew it would pay off, and just, it doesn't end here, so just keep going.
His parents, by the way, Glenn and Lisa, rich sports backgrounds. Glenn played professional baseball, Orioles organization. Mom played professional soccer in Norway. Intricately involved in the community in the RBI program, reviving baseball in the inner cities. They wrapped up that give back a couple of years ago. They're still wildly and hugely involved in the amateur space here in Arizona, of course, where this studio is. When we come back, a chance to get to know the very best players at an incredibly large showcase. What a way to wrap up 2021. Jered Goodwin joins us. This is Perfect Game Weekly, presented by Rawlings.
came all the way from Curacao.
I came from New York, from Rhode Island, from Puerto Rico, all the way from Kentucky. We're here at Fort Myers PG main event.
Oh my goodness, the main event showcase. Selfishly, my favorite event of the year, more than 1,000 athletes. It ended 2021. Incredible. And joining us to talk about some of the standouts. It's hard to stand out with that many players, but it's incredible when they do. National Scouting Director Jered Goodwin. Happy holidays, Happy New Year, and now here we go right into our schedule. Jered, thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Ready to get rolling.
Let's roll with this. Let's close the books on 21 with this one because these guys will get it going right away. As a matter of fact, the first guy you want to talk about is Charlee Soto, and he's jumping into another event very soon. But my goodness, Charlee Soto.
Yeah, so a lot of our scouts got to see him at the end of fall at a couple of our big national events, and he was good. We were kind of all in, up to 91, 92, good breaking ball. The changeup really plays. More than fine at shortstop as well. He moves well. He's got good transfer skills. He's fine. Switch hitter with some fluidity, just a good athlete. So we were all kind of in on him, like, man, he's taking that next jump. This is fun. Well, we didn't know he was going to take another jump so quickly. It tied a record with infield velocity and then set a record with fastball velocity. And this is a historic event. This is one of our longest events we've ever had. So for him to come out and make that splash, 90 to 96, kind of sat in that low 90s, range with tons of life on the fastball. It's a super quick arm. He's not even really in his legs as much as he will as he kind of develops and really gets stronger. So it was just one of those times that we always talk about, those eye poppers, that we're going to remember that guy doing that at that event for the rest of the time we're at Perfect Game. He obviously, there's no question he's put in some work.
I know you guys will see him at the World Showcase, possibly trending to go to the high school showdown and in March. So a lot of exciting things. Jarren Purify, we've been seeing for a couple of years. He's a Michigan commit, Select Festival 2 times. He again stepped in front of you guys.
He's a kid that we've just, over the years, have just seen or kind of organically get stronger. And every time he gets stronger, we go in and we're like, man, he's better. And this was from somebody that we already liked. I mean, he was already a festival selection. He's explosive. He can do everything, kind of above average at this point. He's really refined his defensive game, which was great to see, running in that 6'7" range, even though he's put on some good weight. But it was like the kind of the gold standard of BP to that point in the event where it was like, man, that's different. And it's stuff that we've seen before from him. It's just a little stronger, a little more developed, a little more compact, and just you can just see the trend going to the sky with this one.
Give me just a small basket of 23s that you thought were very special that took advantage of this showcase.
Nathaniel Coupet, he's a 2023 out of Florida. His power has always been on display. Seems like every event that we have, he comes out and shows it. In his very first swing, he hits it over the wall, not even hitting the facade. It goes over the facade out there. Neisser Sanchez, a 2023, who we didn't have a lot on before, came out and was a switch hitter, physical body, but definitely strong, moves well, hitting balls out from both sides of the plate, which rarely happens at this point in December, hitting balls out to right field at JetBlue, because you've only got that little space around the pole and then it gets big quick. So he was really, really impressive. And then the last 23 I'll talk about is Isaiah Drake. His brother is obviously a famous football player. He's super young for the 23 class, ran in the 6.5s, through 89. He's always been an in-game performer, and the power tool has kind of picked up with him. So it's going to be a really exciting 2022 to follow him, who is an uncommitted kid that I think can go very, very high.
With the older guys, still a wonderful opportunity. I know there's a handful that really caught your eye and your team's eye.
Yeah, Juan Perez is a lot like Neisser Sanchez, just the 2024 version of it. He's physical, he's strong. His K-motion numbers were off the charts, like absolutely amazing. So this is a kid that it was my first look, and I really want to follow because the power, the bat speed, and also the hit tool kind of match. So I think he's going to be a guy that can make a huge jump, and I think that probably starts very, very soon when we get to see him in the high school season. Bradley Ferrell was up to 92. He's a 6'3", super projectable right-handed pitcher. He's going to Kentucky, committed to Kentucky, I should say. And it was loose and it was easy, and it was 3 pitches. Both the off speed, the curveball, and the changeup, I thought were at least average pitches right now, with more to come as he adds strength and keeps that arm speed up a little bit. So he's going to be fun to watch. And the last one really is Ariston Veasey. He's a catcher by trade, long, lanky catcher. We've always seen the tools. We've always seen the upside. But he's another one that's just added strength. You can see he's finally getting those man muscles, and everything popped. The BP was better. The arm strength behind the plate was still well above average. Then he jumped on the mound and touched 90 with a lot more to come. I mean, it was just a super fast arm. So he was another one that kind of, took that off season, even though it was a short off season, just 2 months, and made the most of it. Even a guy that we've seen in the past committed to Georgia.
Man, thank you, Jered. We appreciate these insights. We can't wait to connect with you and your team again.
Thanks, Sutton.
Yeah, Jered, Goodwin. Now, you want to know who wasn't on anyone's radar when he was 13 and 14 years old? His name is Chris Taylor. He's been on everyone. Perfect Game Weekly, presented by Rawlings. We welcome you back to Perfect Game Weekly, presented by Rawlings. Excited to kick off the new year with a really fun guest. Chris Taylor joins us, postseason hero with the Dodgers. We're going to talk about his amateur journey as well. Happy New Year, Chris. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy New Year. Thanks for having me.
I want to take you back, if you don't mind, because that's what makes this show great, to 2008, your amateur journey. You were playing for the Orioles scout team. You had a chance to go down to the World Wood Bat Association World Championship. We all know it as Jupiter, but that was one of your first big travel ball events. Specifically, what do you recall about those days?
Yeah, I just remember it was the first time I'd played, and there being scouts up and down the foul lines. I remember them all in their golf carts, and they were just like lined up all around the field. So it was kind of our first time playing, and realizing, wow, like there's scouts from every school here, and it was pretty cool to know that all these big caliber D1 programs were watching us play.
Rare is it that a Cavalier plays an anteater, but in 2011 you did, and you had the famed walk-off hit. I'm an Irvine guy. I actually went to Irvine and played there for a bit, and I'll never forget that base hit. I was far gone from school at that point. But those are moments, right? I mean, what do you recall about the at-bat, the pressure, the opportunity, and then the celebration that follows that you're going to the College World Series because of your base hit?
I was just trying to stay composed, I think. Bases loaded, 2 outs, down 1. And so I was just trying to gather myself and keep it simple, have a good at-bat, and it worked out for me. But yeah, the celebration was just pure adrenaline. Like, up to that point in my life, I'd never had a moment like that. So I still get goosebumps when I think about it. It was really cool.
Anecdotally, what do you recall about your minor league journey, and maybe when it clicked where you thought, I think I can make it?
I don't know if there was a moment where it clicked like that for me. I always had confidence in myself, and I always believed I was going to be a major league player. I'd say when I first got to pro ball and I had success right away, that was huge for my confidence, just knowing, okay, I can do it at this level. For me, I think it was more of a challenge once I got to the big leagues, was sticking there, because with the Mariners, I was probably back and forth between AAA and the big leagues for 2.5, 3 years. So that was more of a challenge for me, cementing my spot, which never happened with the Mariners. And it was a blessing that I got traded to the Dodgers and was able to create my own role with them.
There were a couple of moments in your transition into this, really staying in the big leagues with the Dodgers and having a big impact, in which you made some pretty dramatic swing changes. Your teammates talked about it, you talked about it, changing your approach. I always marvel at the courage it takes once you've arrived to make a bigger change. Talk to me a little bit about making a change and kind of the thought process for you in having the confidence to do that.
Yeah, so that was sort of something, what I just talked about, not being able to stick, and got traded to the Dodgers and started off well with them. And I thought I had kind of secured my spot. And then I had a down couple weeks and sent right back down to AAA, didn't make the postseason roster. And that's when I kind of decided, like, had seen guys like Mookie Betts and some of these smaller guys hitting home runs, and it was like, okay, like you don't have to be a big, strong dude to hit for power. And I had heard about Donaldson's swing change, and some of the new hitting stuff. It was very new at that time, and I had just watched YouTube clips, and I was in Arizona for Stay Hot, which was the group that was just staying loose in case somebody got hurt in the playoffs. And I was like, I kind of could see the writing on the wall. Like, I wasn't going to get called up. And I was like, I'm going to use this time to get ready for next season. And I was just messing around in the cage, doing a leg kick, trying to hit the ball in the air. I had no clue. And one of the hitting coaches, our head hitting coach now at the Dodgers, at the time he was just a minor league rover, and he saw me and Robert Van Scoyac, and he asked if I wanted help. I said absolutely. Started working with him, worked with him all off season, show up to spring training the next year. I remember the first time I hit on the baseball field outside, and the ball was going further than I'd ever hit it before. And I was hitting balls, and they were going over the fence. And that's when it clicked. I was like, wow, there's something to this. And obviously that was my breakout season with them in 17.
Wow, thank you, Chris, and thanks for your transparency in that answer. Incredibly insightful. Let's pause for just a moment. When we come back, we'll have more with Chris Taylor, a world champion in 2020 and a postseason hero in 2021. This is Perfect Game Weekly, presented by Rawlings. Perfect Game Weekly, presented by Rawlings, continues. More of our conversation with Chris Taylor. And Chris, you talked about, before we went to break, making a huge swing change. So it's a perfect chance. What advice do you have for young amateurs, whether they're going through changes, whether they're working on their confidence, and that they want to be you someday? What advice do you have?
Yeah, I would just say don't get so caught up in the results. I think the most important thing when you're young is to constantly keep improving and getting better. And, if you fail in high school, or like you don't have a good game in the playoffs, or like in the big picture, that stuff, it's not going to matter, other than the fact that did you learn from it, and did you get better? I've had so many peaks and valleys, and some of my lowest moments in my career got me to this point and made me make those adjustments. Like I just talked about, that's just one example with my swing change. If I didn't struggle with the Mariners, and I remember I had one of the worst games of my life, my last game with the Mariners before I got sent down and traded. If I didn't have that game, which was one of the lowest points of my career mentally, I really struggled with that. If I didn't have that, none of this would have happened. I wouldn't have gotten traded to the Dodgers. I wouldn't have made these swing changes. And so I guess the big picture, just constantly, learn from your failures and realize they're going to make you better in the long run, and not get too down on yourself.
All bias included in this one, and thank you for that advice. All bias included. I'm a Dodger by birth. My father's number's out there on the wall. Played a little bit in the minors. They sent me home very quickly, as they should have. But we stood and cheered many times for you in October of last year and in of 2020. So I guess I selfishly would love to know, as the Dodger fan admitted on this show, what do those tours around the bases feel like? The walk-off, the 3 homers in a game. I can't imagine, because that's what you work for. All those changes, all that work, that's what you work for. What are those tours around the bases like, especially at home at Dodger Stadium?
Yeah, they're all different. For me, the walk-off against St. Louis, that was just pure adrenaline rush. Happens very quick. I kind of black out and just sprint around the bases. For me, like, some of the pressure just comes off your shoulder, and then you feel good again, and you're able to relax and just play. And I ended up having a good postseason, and everything just kind of clicked. But sometimes you just need that moment where it's like, okay, like I don't have to put so much pressure on myself. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, those moments for me, it's just I'm not really thinking about them until after the fact, and it's like, wow, did that just happen? But in the moment, like, you're just kind of like tunnel vision, and you just sort of black out.
Makes sense. It's the moments we all cheer for, no matter our team. And people like you, certainly we cheer for as well. Thanks for your insights. We really appreciate you joining, especially for our younger audience to hear your words of advice.
Absolutely. Thanks, Darren.
Incredible stuff. And we want to thank Chris Taylor for joining us, along with Bubba Coleman, one of my favorites. What an excellent feature. And the insights of Jered Goodwin. Of course, if you love this show, go ahead and find our app, Perfect Game TV. Download it on any of your smart devices. We are devoted 24/7 to amateur baseball and amateur softball as well. This has been Perfect Game Weekly, presented by Rawlings. We'll see you next week, and we'll see you at the ballpark.